esteemed members of the community here in person, joining us on live online, and those who will be tuning in later via YouTube and Facebook, welcome to our regular board meeting of the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh for November 9th, 2023. I am Tanika Harris, Director of Communication and Community Relations, and today we come together as a community of action, interest, and place, united by a shared commitment to making our community a better place for everyone. Your presence, whether physical or virtual, is integral to the success of our community initiatives. Now, as we gather here today, I am pleased to announce that we have established a quorum and we are ready to commence the meeting. Without further ado, I would like to pass this baton over to our esteemed chairman, who will guide us through the proceedings of this meeting, Chairman Tinsalopoulos. The floor is officially yours, literally and figuratively.
Welcome. Noted, all members are present and accounted for. So with that, we move on to approval of the October 12th, 2023 URA regular board meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve. So second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Then the motion carries. I also want to note that the URA board met in executive sessions on November 3rd and November 9th. The purpose of the one on November 3rd was for a briefing for information purposes only, a meeting. Then Director Williamson, Councilman Bell, and I met with staff downtown on November 7th. That said, we will move on normally to public comment, but I believe we don't have any registered speakers for today. So we'll move into announcements. Our first announcement is to congratulate and recognize our new county executive-elect and board treasurer, Sarah Enamorado. So congratulations, Madam Executive-elect.
Thank you. I was very sick of that photo. A lot of props there.
Yeah. Sorry. Apologies to those who are learning. But yeah, congratulations. We are all incredibly excited to work with you in this capacity. Look forward to good things for, of course, the city and Allegheny County. Our next announcement.
Can I take this one? Yeah. I just wanted to announce to the board, I'll say personally, and I know on behalf of the team here and the staff at the URA, we're excited to announce that yesterday we closed with Market and Grill on the Center Hilton Plaza. I'll say that we don't normally come here to announce closings because you should expect when you see board actions, we get to closings. But this one was particularly exciting for all involved, and just want to announce that here. So, we're excited about it. The store is planning to open by end of year as a goal. I say that as a goal. I talked to him this morning, and he's very he wants to make sure he can deliver on what's promised, and he cautioned to say we're working really hard to get us open as soon as possible with a goal of end of year. As we all know, delivery of a full service grocery store with a variety of departments, including fresh produce, bakery, butcher, which of course Salim's is sort of famous for, prepared foods and more. We're just super excited about it. Significant job creation. It's starting at least 50 and there's room to grow significantly from there as more departments come online, depending on sort of market need and demand from the store. And I just wanted to announce that here. Thank the team. I mean, there are a lot of URA folks worked on this. I have names here, and I'm always hesitant to start naming folks because if you forget somebody, it's terrible. But Matt Sanders and Catherine and Michael, commercial lending, ML, Lindsay, Alex, Audrey, Bailey, others. Everyone at this table, you really played an important role in getting to a closing. I just want to say one real quick thing, if it's okay. one of the things I noticed is closing process, and I know you knew it as a board, and just for anybody who's listening to the public here, and for my colleagues on the at the executive level here, one thing I kind of was reminded of is how we're not just sort of experts in what we do, but there's a sort of fight and tenacity in what we do. And, getting to a closing was, you should never take it for granted. And, I witnessed that throughout the whole process through it's never linear to get to that final action. So just wanted to recognize that and recognize that here on behalf of this team and, for the board's full visibility. So at any rate, so that's it. That's the announcement. So we're excited about that and excited for the store to be delivered and open. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I just want to briefly say, well, one, thank you to all the staff that worked on this from the first time we acquired this asset to getting it to actual closing. This is tremendous for not only the Hill District community, because it's going to support many other investments that we're making around it, Center Avenue, Bedford Phase 1, like we're putting a lot of resources into this area. So this is a critical development. So I just want to thank you for all involved. And it's not just important for the Hill District. I believe this is going to be a regional draw. And so it's good for the city as a whole as well, to really bring in additional spending dollars to the neighborhood. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. The only other thing I would add, and I know we've said it in community meetings, but it bears repeating, is to thank the community and the neighborhood for their patience throughout this process and the trust that they placed in us, to come up with the right solution here. Abdullah and the whole team, at Salem's have I think really shown. They haven't just been sort of rhetorically, about community, but shown that and made the investments and, been a true partner every step of the way, not just with our team. And thank you to everyone on our team, certainly, but, with the neighborhood and have, done tremendous outreach to let everyone know as we've progressed every step of the way, but been there as a community partner to, sponsor events and help feed folks in the neighborhood. So, congratulations all around. It's incredibly exciting to be at this point. So thank you. Before we move on to the next announcement, I did hear that Dr. Ellis, who was registered for public comment, but not on, is now able to provide public comment. So I want to give her her 3 minutes to be able to address the board. Dr. Ellis?
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, good afternoon, URA Board, and congratulations, County Executive-elect Sarah Namarato. I just wanted to say that I'm really, really happy about you all meeting in the August Wilson conference room, and I'm happy to wear a different hat for today. For those of you who don't know, I am August Wilson's maternal niece. I'm still in the Hill District that he wrote about. And one of the reasons why the historic Hill District is one of the most famous neighborhoods in the United States of America. And I just wanted to really stress that August Wilson, although he's very much known for his theater and his dramatic works, I really want everybody to know that one, I've been developing this for a long time, but two, it's really important for everybody to understand that August Wilson was really about civics. So in Gem of the Ocean, for example, one of his characters is called Mr. Citizen. And Citizen literally explores what it actually means to be a citizen in the United States of America, especially at the beginning of the 20th century. And then in plays like Jitney and Two Trains Running, you deal with issues around eminent domain, the hiring of legal professionals to challenge eminent domain. You deal with issues like eminent domain abuse. And there are also issues around redlining. And these are really important because, you know, theater is not just about entertainment. And on a personal note, I can definitely tell you that August Wilson told me directly that one of the reasons why he became a playwright is because when he would go to different community meetings, they would frequently be derailed by bad actors. And he felt that the people that were in the meeting didn't always understand the different issues that were happening in the community. And so part of the reason why he became a playwright is to show people what the issues were so that they could see the fuller picture together. So I really wanted to stress that you all meeting in the August Wilson conference room is really important because this really is what August Wilson was about, and it's why he started to write these plays. So I wanted to say congratulations and thank you so much for those who don't know that they're actually living in that legacy of civic service and responsibility. And I thank you for that. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Proceeding back to announcements, our next announcement, pardon me, is related to real estate open-ended RFQ. And joining us for this will be Lindsay Jupin.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Jupin, and I'm here on behalf of the real estate department. I'm the real estate inventory manager here at the URA. So I'm here to amend our previous RFQ announcement that we made in July of 2023. We initially put out a request for qualifications for appraisers, surveyors, and title companies. Based on the responses that we received for that RFQ, the real estate department decided it made more sense to go to an open-ended RFQ model. This allows us to, on an ongoing basis, evaluate the criteria of companies who wish to do business with the URA, rather than waiting 2 to 3 years to have to remember to come back and say, hey, is it time to put in a request for these services. So our plan is by November 17th to republish now an open-ended RFQ, and then to move to a model where we have open-ended service contracts and a professional panel for which we'll solicit each request for title services, survey, and appraisals.
Any questions from board members, comments? Thank you. Our next announcement is the 200 Ross Street RFQ. And joining us for this is Brandon Wilson.
Hi, my name is Brandon Wilson, and I am a project manager in the Development Services Division. I'm happy to announce that we will be releasing an RFQ for the redevelopment of the historic offices at 200 Ross Street. The URA had previously released a 200 Ross Street RFP, but we received no responses. We followed up by speaking with developers, and based on the complexity of the project and the overlapping LIHTC milestones, developers were not interested in submitting full proposal packages. As a result, we have simplified our ask with an RFQ package, simply a package of qualifications. We will evaluate these qualifications packages, create a short list of developers, and then release a limited RFP after that. The RFP responses from that limited RFP will be evaluated by URA staff members, city council staff, city planning staff, City of Pittsburgh Mayor's Office staff, and downtown community groups. The URA is looking for developers with experience converting office buildings in downtown settings and with historic preservation. Our plan is to release this RFQ on November 13th, 2023 via IonWave, and to receive responses before November 30th or before November 30th, 2023. The IonWave link will be announced on our website as well as on our social media channels. If you have any questions about the RFQ, I am happy to answer them at this time.
One question. I'm a little
very natural.
I will be limiting my comments today. Just a quick question. Have we already begun to sort of prime developers to expect this? Because a 2-week turnaround is pretty short.
Yes, we have been in contact with developers, especially ones who have expressed interest, but did not want to submit the full package. So there is awareness of this RFQ coming.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I was gonna thank thank Brandon and the team for just being creative in sort of how we proceed, you know, recognizing sort of the feedback that we received on the RFP and pivoting to an RFQ for the reasons that he said, you know, I think makes a lot of sense. So, you know, appreciate staff being nimble and responsive, you know, once we heard some feedback from potential respondents. So now moving on, we are going to talk about the 62nd Street, RFP, and joining us for this is Lily Friedman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Lily Friedman, and I'm the URA's Manager of Development Projects. Today, I'm excited to announce the release of a request for proposals, or RFP, for the 62nd Street site in the Upper Lawrenceville neighborhood of the city of Pittsburgh. The goal of the RFP for this 14.2-acre site located at the intersection of Butler Street and 62nd Street is to solicit proposal responses optimizing for ecologically sensitive development concepts, including sustainable facility operations, job creation, and/or the relocation of heavy industrial activities in the residential core of the Lawrenceville neighborhoods. The RFP will be issued on November 30th, 2023 via IonWave. For more information on how to register for IonWave, please navigate to the Proposals and Bids page of the URA website. Please note responses will be due February 29th, 2024. And that concludes the announcements. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thanks, Lily. Any questions, comments? Here you go.
So goofy. I know, right? I just wanted to say briefly, thank you so much to the team. I know it's been a process to get somewhere where all of our community groups feel comfortable. And so I'm really excited to be able to walk into this process hand in hand, especially because of all the work that you've done and your team has done to get us here. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good. Thanks, Lily. Our next announcement is an update from the OWN PGH office hours. Chief Wasser, I think you're taking this one. Okay.
It's easier this way. Good afternoon. I'm Kiana Wassler, Chief Housing Officer for the URA. Today, I stand before you with immense pride to first celebrate the successful first installment of our OWN PGH Office Hours series, which was held on October 24th in the historic Hill District. On that day, we had the privilege of serving 63 individuals who all came to the event with a common dream of owning a piece of this remarkable city that we all call home. I'm excited to share that we're continuing our office hours programming at the Mount Washington Library on Thursday, November 30th. We will host program information sessions on that day at 4, 5, and 6 p.m. This event will extend to the Beltsuber, Knoxville, Allentown, Mount Washington, and Carrick neighborhoods. But I want to emphasize that all City of Pittsburgh residents are welcome to attend and registration is not required. This is a great opportunity to gain invaluable insights and information about the OWN PGH program to equip you with the tools and knowledge necessary to prepare for home ownership. Our commitment to build a stronger, more inclusive city has never been stronger. And it's an honor to have the board and members of the staff, the public, along with us on this incredible journey. Today, we invite you to be a part of the ongoing journey as we continue to make dreams come true for the people of Pittsburgh. We look forward to seeing you on November 30th at the Mount Washington Library as we continue the journey. Future OWN PGH programming also includes office hours in December in the Hazelwood neighborhood and virtual office during the upcoming winter months. We're also working hard to plan an information session geared directly towards real estate agents who sell property in the city of Pittsburgh in the coming months as well, so that they understand how the program works and any special tweaks they may need to make to their process. Thank you all for your unwavering support, and let's continue to make homeownership dreams a reality for Pittsburgh. Any questions about own PGH programming?
I don't have any question. I just want to thank staff for one, thinking of this, as another way to do outreach and increase awareness of the program. And then two, for, stepping up and raising your hand to go out there and be part of, that direct engagement with our neighbors and our communities and our neighborhoods. So, appreciate the creativity and the thoughtfulness to spread the word, of the program, because it's a tremendous opportunity, but recognizing with ARP others, a finite amount of time we have to make this available to people. So, great work to all involved. Our last announcement is our quarterly impact report, and Dylan Sloat it will be joining us for this.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Sloat. I'm a legislative and systems specialist here at the URA. On your screen, you're going to see some highlights from the Q3 2023 URA impact report. So just a high-level overview of some of the numbers. Our 39 businesses were connected through technical assistance through the URA and its affiliates. 396 individuals were able to stay in their homes through either housing crisis prevention programs or housing-related legal assistance provided through the Housing Opportunity Fund. 33 individuals were assisted in achieving home ownership through the HOF down payment and closing cost assistance program. 123 units of affordable housing were created or preserved with assistance through our residential and consumer lending programs. 18 small business loans were closed between the URA and its affiliates worth over $1.43 million. And roughly $363,000 were dispersed to businesses maintaining vacant lots and supporting neighborhood projects. The full report is now live on the URA's impact page on our website, and it shows more great work that the URA has done in Q3. We encourage anyone who's interested in taking a closer look at some of these metrics to go to our impact section on our website and going under the About Us section, finding this. Thank you.
Questions? Comments from board members? Here you go.
I do. No, I just think it's really interesting that 80% of all our home buyers are women and minorities, but yet there was a report that came out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago that essentially said these exact same buyers could not walk into a bank off the street themselves and get a loan to purchase a home. So that actually is a testament to the work that is being done here. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Similarly on the commercial borrowers too. Right? Yeah. Like, one, it speaks to the role of the authority in filling, gaps in the marketplace that otherwise, would go ignored. But yeah, I agree with everything that you said, Councilman. Dylan, I know I say it every quarter, but thank you for, doing the work to pull all this together, and all your colleagues that work with you to do it. I know there's a lot that goes into us seeing such a clean sort of report and set of numbers. So, that is appreciated. And when we do see, we see them all as single projects every month, and, understanding those, and, as Representative Powell said, even with the RFP, all of the work that goes into each of those, it's incredibly important. And that's how we sort of view them regularly. But to see the impact sort of in aggregate, at least for me, and I think I can speak for the rest of the board, is incredibly sort of powerful. So really appreciate, the time that goes into doing this so that we're able to take that kind of 30,000 foot view, and we're always so sort of in the weeds of it all. So yeah, really appreciate the efforts. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to our regular agenda. That being our last announcement. We have items today in residential lending and investments, development services, and then, as always, our disclosures agenda. First items on residential lending and investments are a number of projects in the housing preservation program. And for this, we are turning it over to Niklas. So it'll be the Niklas show for the next little bit, because there's 5 different projects that he'll be providing an overview for. So,
and while he walks up here,
while he makes an entrance,
I want to thank Tanika, the comms team, and everyone else who made this hybrid format happen. In fact, in person, on its own, and all virtual is a lot more simple than hybrid. So, but they made it happen, and thanks to all of their work for this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Person. I am a lending analyst in the residential lending department of the URA. And today I am going to be giving 5 presentations on projects related to the Housing Preservation Program. As a bit of context, the Housing Preservation Program was introduced earlier this year as a way of using American Rescue Plan dollars to fund the preservation of existing affordable housing. And since its introduction, we have received many applications from many different developers with this intent in mind. And after thoroughly reviewing these applications, we have decided to bring 5 to the November board meeting. These are the Allegheny YMCA, IHRE Capital Improvements, Penley Commons Recapitalization, 20 Almeda, and Widow's Home. And something that I also want to emphasize, which is the statement at the bottom of this slide, is that should all 5 of these projects be approved by the board today, we will see roughly $3.6 million of American Rescue Plan funds going out the door to preserve 170 units of affordable housing. But before I jump into these presentations, and I know I have a lot, and I'm going to try and keep them as concise as possible, I want to echo the statements that Sushila had just said, our executive director. You know, I've given a lot of presentations to this board in an online format, and I think it is nice to see all the board members here today in person. And so I want to acknowledge and thank them for being here today, and to extend that acknowledgement and thanks to everyone who showed up here today for the URA's first hybrid meeting in a very long time. So with that, let's jump right into the first and by far the largest of the projects, the Allegheny YMCA. For formality, the authorization here is to enter into a Housing Preservation Program loan agreement in the amount of up to $1.5 million with the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh or related entity for the rehabilitation of 89 single-room occupancy units at the Allegheny YMCA. 96 years. That is how long the Allegheny YMCA has been in service. And in those years, it has done a tremendous service to its community by providing both affordable housing and affordable recreational services. The building hosts 105 single-room occupancy units, accounting for roughly 20% of all existing SRO units in Allegheny County. And even though the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh has done an admirable effort at maintaining the building to the best of their abilities, there are major capital improvements needed whose costs are well beyond the YMCA's operating budget and reserves for this building. And that is why the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh, in collaboration with the nonprofit developer Action Housing, have devised a financial plan for the total rehabilitation of the Allegheny YMCA. This includes a complete overhaul and replacement of the mechanical, plumbing, and electrical systems throughout the building. It includes new flooring, painting, and ceilings in each of the single-room occupancy units, replacing the shared bathrooms with private bathroom facilities, and the installation of new ADA features that will make the building more welcoming to those with physical disabilities. To incorporate all of these renovations, while also preventing a reduction in the square footage of the units, it should be mentioned that the total number of SRO units will have to be reduced from 105 to 89. And though that number may appear as a negative consequence, these renovations in the long term will significantly improve their habitability and consequently the quality of life for their residents. The total development cost for these renovations is estimated to be $22.5 million. Of this, roughly $13 million will go towards the commercial portion of these renovations, and the remaining $8,872,995 will go towards the residential portion. To cover these costs, the developer has applied for both new market tax credits and historic tax credits, and they anticipate a majority of the equity generated from these tax credits to be used towards the commercial portion of these renovations. And so they have located other sources of financing to cover the residential portion, which are listed here on this slide. These include funds from the Housing Options Program grant from the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, Community Development Block Grant funds from Allegheny County, an Affordable Housing Program grant from the Federal Home Loan Bank, as well as grants from the Hillman Foundation and funding from PHFA Fairs Fund. To cover their financial gap, the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh has submitted an application to our Housing Preservation Program requesting $1.5 million to be used exclusively towards the residential portion of these renovations. After reviewing their application, it is our professional opinion that this rehabilitation project is reflective of the goals of the Housing Preservation Program and is eligible for the funding request. And so I have come in front of the board today requesting authorization to approve a $1.5 million HPP loan, which will be sourced with American Rescue Plan dollars and whose terms will include a 50% cash flow repayment and record of a deed restriction, securing the long-term affordability of all 89 units. Should the board approve this loan today, the project will be set to close in the first quarter of 2024, with all renovations completed by August 2025. Thank you. I would now like to introduce the President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh, Amy Kinley, as well as the Senior Vice President and Chief Development Officer, Karen Lingrady, to provide a few brief remarks and help in answering questions. And they're online, by the way.
Yes, you guys are having so much fun. I wish I was there in person. I'm Amy Kinley, the President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh. Nicola, thank you for an incredible overview of the Allegheny YMCA Capital Project. We also have Alina Andrews with Action Housing, I think is representing us also there in person. She is, our partnership with Action Housing has been absolutely incredible. Thank you all for the opportunity, and I'll keep it brief just to talk about the Allegheny YMCA and the capital project and the willingness to hear us today at the URA board meeting. Before I go further, I certainly want to acknowledge the staff. The URA staff has just been side by side with us since the beginning of this project, guiding us along the way. So thank you, as well as elected officials that have shown a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and support for this project. So much gratitude there. Because of the fact that in your agenda, there's a lot of information about the details of this project, I really want to just, in the brief amount of time I have here, highlight why we're doing this, not necessarily what we're doing, because you can see that the need is certainly there. This past Tuesday, as a matter of fact, was the anniversary of the opening of the Allegheny YMCA. It is 96 years old. This beautiful and gracious building overlooking Allegheny Commons Park sits on the corner of West North Avenue and Monterey Street in historic Mexican War streets. It is beautiful on the outside and it needs a lot of love on the inside. In this photograph on the slide, you can see the iconic sign. People really do associate this building with being central to the Mexican War Street and a really important third space for several generations of Pittsburghers. So we're proud to be part of this, this community. As a matter of fact, the who's who's of Pittsburgh has played, stayed, exercised, boxed, danced, bowled, and learned to swim right there at the Allegheny YMCA. This building 96 years ago was built by the community and for the community. The Allegheny YMCA has delivered extraordinary service, including more than 3 million nights of affordable housing. Throughout the years, the community has undergone significant changes, and through it all, the Allegheny YMCA has adapted and proudly continued its service to all for the community of Northside. However, the years have taken their toll on this building. And frankly, what was appropriate back in 1927 is certainly no longer appropriate in this year of 2023, such as private restrooms. All of our residents deserve air conditioning, a functioning elevator, on-site laundry amenities, private spaces for personal hygiene, and a lounge where they can gather with friends and colleagues and watch the game and possibly share a meal. With your support today, the Allegheny YMCA will be able to provide an affordable, accessible, healthy, comfortable, financially sustainable, and dignified home for more than 89 individuals for decades to come. Some of our residents stay with us for a week and some stay for 30 years. And regardless of the length of stay, we will continue to provide the residents access to supportive services, public transportation, jobs, hot meals, and most importantly, a safe place where they can call home. Your investment today is not really in bricks and mortar. However, it's an investment in generations of individuals in our community and the future we desire to live in a livable city. And yes, of course, we will be keeping the sign, but the chairs that are stationed at the landing of every single stairwell that our residents need to land on and rest before they can take the next flight will be on their way out, and thankfully will be gone. From all of us here at the YMCA and Action Housing, we're really grateful for this opportunity, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions or comments from board members? Nicholas, why don't we run through all the presentations and then we can sort of take the votes, as we go. Yeah.
Should I continue to invite guest speakers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's
all right. So jumping right into the second project, we have the IHRE capital improvements. The authorization here is to enter into a housing preservation program loan agreement in an amount of up to $450,000 with Independent Housing Resources East Incorporated for the rehabilitation of 10 affordable rental units at 117 North Wine-Middle Street and 5657 Stanton Avenue. This is a 4-building scattered site rehabilitation project. 2 of the properties are located in the city of Pittsburgh. One is a 4-unit semi-detached housing complex in Garfield, and the other is a 6-unit Victorian house that had been converted into an apartment building and is located in Highland Park. The other 2 properties are located outside of the city in Allegheny County. As a bit of history, in the 1990s, the nonprofit developer Action Housing had either developed or redeveloped these properties as part of their city and county-wide effort to increase the supply of affordable housing for people with physical disabilities. These 4 properties are all categorized as HUD Section 811 properties, meaning tenants pay no more than 30% of their income on rent, with the Department of Housing and Urban Development subsidizing the remainder. And after nearly 30 years since their initial development or redevelopment, there are significant capital improvements needed whose costs are beyond the operating budget and reserves. Like all of these projects that I'll be presenting on today, the Housing Preservation Program serves as a rare funding opportunity to improve the conditions and long-term habitability of these already existing affordable units. These improvements will include new windows, HVAC systems, flooring, paint, new kitchen cabinets and counters, lighting throughout the unit, sidewalk repairs, decking, and porch replacement. The total development cost for these renovations will be $2,304,000. The borrower, Independent Housing Resources East Incorporated, a subsidiary of Action Housing, has located multiple sources of financing to cover these renovations. These sources include Community Development Block Grant funds from Allegheny County, as well as a Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency Housing Options Program grant. To cover the remainder of their costs, Action Housing has submitted an application to the URA's Housing Preservation Program for $450,000 to be used exclusively towards the rehabilitation of the 2 properties located in the city of Pittsburgh. The funding for this loan would be sourced with American Rescue Plan dollars. Its terms would include a 50% cash flow repayment and a record of a deed restriction securing long-term affordability for all 10 units for 40 years. Should the board approve this loan today, the project will be set to close in the first quarter of 2024, with all properties fully renovated 12 months from then in the first quarter of 2025. Thank you very much for listening. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce Lena Andrews, the Vice President of Real Estate and Development at Action Housing.
Thanks, Nicholas. Thanks, everyone. I love being here. I should come to all the URA board meetings because you get to hear about all the coolest projects. And I always love being back at the URA, so thanks so much. So Action Housing, as you guys know, have been around since 1957, and we started doing real estate development in the 80s. So we have a real estate portfolio of 2,000 units, a lot of which are in the city, that are housing some of our most vulnerable residents. And like everything, it's aging and has capital needs. And so I am so thankful for these new preservation funds as a source that we can use to continue to operate our buildings and to give our tenants the quality of life that they deserve. And I think you really heard that in the Allegheny Y presentation and this as well. We don't just want to provide housing, we want to provide really high quality long-term housing that people feel proud of. So thank you for this. I want to thank my staff for doing a great job on the application, especially Jody Lincoln, who's not here today. And I want to thank the URA staff for doing such a great job reviewing the application. And that's it. Thanks.
Any questions or comments from board specific to this project? Keep rolling, Nicholas.
All right. Jumping into the third one, we have Penley Commons recapitalization. Again, for formality, the authorization is to enter into a housing preservation program loan agreement in an amount of up to $662,385 with Penley Supportive Housing for the Elderly Incorporated for the rehabilitation of 38 affordable rental units at 5653 Broad Street, also known as Penley Commons. This is a 38-unit apartment building in East Liberty housing low-income seniors. Some of you who are no strangers to the history of East Liberty will know that this area used to look very different. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Penley Commons, along with other multi-unit rental and affordable home ownership projects, were built along and near the Penn Avenue commercial corridor. These were part of the larger New Penley development effort to create an intergenerational pocket neighborhood on land that previously contained financially and physically distressed public housing. And although Penley Commons has been well maintained over its life, it has reached an age when more costly improvements are required. A recently conducted capital needs assessment found that the property requires roughly $1.6 million in short-term capital repairs, including but not limited to a new roof, boiler, windows, and in-unit HVAC systems. The borrower, Penley Supportive Housing for the Elderly Incorporated, is a subsidiary of the nonprofit developer, the Community Builders, who were the original developers of Penley Commons 23 years ago. They have devised a rehabilitation plan that will cover all of the aforementioned short-term capital repairs, as well as the incorporation of new ADA accessibility improvements. The total development cost will be $2,801,540. Sources of financing include their own replacement reserves, as well as a PHFA Housing Options Program grant. To cover the remainder, the developer has submitted an application to the URA requesting a $662,385 Housing Preservation Program loan. The funding for this loan will be sourced with American Rescue Plan dollars. Its terms include a 50% cash flow repayment and, you guessed it, a record of a deed restriction securing long-term affordability for 40 years. Expect more to come. Should the board approve this loan today, the project will close in the first quarter of 2024 and be completed in the fourth quarter of that same year. Thank you very much for listening. It is my pleasure now to introduce Juan Powell, the Vice President of Development at the Community Builders.
Thank you, Nicholas. Good afternoon, board members and leaders. I'm Juan Powell, the Regional Vice President for Development at the Community Builders. TCB is one of the leading national nonprofit affordable housing developers in the country. We own 335 units in East Liberty and over 14,000 units nationally. We're very proud of the fact that for over 2 decades, TCB has been an integral part of East Liberty, contributing to catalyzing transformational change. We take seriously our commitment to our mission to build and sustain strong communities where all people can thrive. We also find great alignment with URA's mission to foster sustainable prosperity across all of Pittsburgh. Both of our organizations recognize the pivotal role that housing plays in cultivating a more equitable world that has systemically deprived many of such opportunities. On behalf of the dedicated individuals at TCB, the residents of Penley Commons, I extend our appreciation to URA's board, executive leadership, executive leadership and staff for recognizing this opportunity to award badly needed capital funds to this property. East Liberty has evolved from a prosperous community to one of disinvestment back to a community of choice. Your financial support is pivotal in ensuring that our senior residents can continue to live with dignity in affordable housing that mirrors the modern standards seen in many other market rate residents within our communities. I would like to thank you for your time, your consideration, your ongoing support in our collective effort to produce a more prosperous, a more inclusive, and more vibrant Pittsburgh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juan. Any comments or questions from board members specific to this project? All right. Back to you, Nicholas.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Moving on to the fourth one, we have 20 Almeida. The authorization here is to enter into a housing preservation program loan agreement in an amount of up to $450,000 with RETH Investment LLC Incorporated for the rehabilitation of 9 affordable rental units at 20 Almeida Street. This is a 9-unit apartment building located just a few blocks away from the 2nd Avenue commercial corridor. To be blunt, for decades, this building had been poorly managed and undercapitalized, which led to roof and plumbing leaks and significant masonry damage. To avoid any further degradation, the nonprofit developer Rising Tide Partners purchased the property last year with the intention of making significant capital improvements. Their efforts with 20 Almeida are part of a much larger effort Rising Tide is making to help the neighborhood gain community control of its larger apartment buildings and preserve them for affordable housing. A capital needs assessment was conducted that found that many features of the building are in poor condition, including the windows, exterior doors, water and waste piping, electrical servicing and wiring, kitchen and bathroom cabinets, exterior and interior paint, etc., etc. RTH Investment LLC, formed by Rising Tide Partners, will address all of these components by renovating the 9 units in a staged process. The total development cost for these renovations is $2,501,008. The developers located multiple sources of financing to cover these costs. They were first able to secure a $500,000 pre-development loan from the National Community Development Fund to purchase the property last year. This is a 3-year, 5% interest-only loan that will be replaced with permanent project financing. And to that point, Landmarks Community Capital has committed a $650,000 construction and first position permanent loan, and the National Housing Trust has committed a $450,000 second position loan, the latter of which will close upon construction completion and replace the NCDF pre-development loan. Other sources of financing include an $86,000 grant from Hillman Capital, as well as a $540,000 housing options program grant from PHFA. To cover their financial gap, Rising Tide has submitted a housing preservation program application to the URA, requesting a $450,000 loan. The funding for this loan will be sourced with American Rescue Plan dollars. Its terms include a 50% cash flow repayment and a record of a deed restriction securing the long-term affordability of all 9 units. Before I end there, I also just want to mention that Rising Tide have stated they intend on applying for Section 8 project-based vouchers for all units, and if successful, this would also help to further deepen the project's affordability. Should the board approve this loan today, the project will close in the first quarter of 2024, with all renovations complete by the fourth quarter of that same year. Thank you very much for listening. It is my pleasure now to introduce the Executive Director of Rising Tide Partners, Kendall Pelling.
Thank you, Board. This is a very important example of how we have so many families in the city of Pittsburgh that are vulnerable to displacement because their buildings have been let fall apart by absentee investors. When I first walked into this building with our team, we saw water that was spraying and leaking in the basement that I had to turn off with my own hands. We had families in units with old furnaces, old kitchens, leaking roof, bricks that were about to fall off potentially onto somebody. So really want to thank the support of the multiple lenders that have enabled us to acquire this building and immediately solve these health and safety problems. Our construction manager, Ross Cronenbitter, found the heat exchangers broken in the old furnaces, potential carbon monoxide damages. So we were able to initially do quick replacements of furnaces and get the masonry repaired. And also want to thank our real estate project manager, Joe Wingenfeld, who put together these complicated applications with multiple funding sources, because a building that needs to get rehab is a complicated project, especially if we're going to keep it affordable forever. And then also want to thank our community partners. This entity, RTH Investment LLC, is part of our governance structure, which is that in each community we work, we have an LLC board that manages and oversees the projects. That is half constituted from our regional board of directors and half from our community partners. So we have representatives of Hazelwood Initiative, the Greater Hazelwood Community Collaborative, and Poor Law, who serve along with our regional board members to guide this work. In Hazelwood, we now protect 60 families that were in unprotected housing 3 years ago that we're now protecting. So we appreciate the use of these HPP funds for housing preservation and ways we can keep working to buy out absentee investors and create more permanently affordable housing. Also want to thank City Bridges Community Land Trust that is working with us to be a partner to bring this building, the land, into the land trust so that we can keep it stewarded permanently for affordable housing. So thank you all.
Any questions specific to this project from members? Not, Nicholas, this will be the last presentation from you today anyway. All right, so turn it back over to you for Widow's Home.
Thank you, Chairman. Don't worry, we are in the home stretch here, folks. The last project that I am presenting is Widow's Home. The authorization here is to enter into a housing preservation program loan agreement in the amount of up to $500,000 with CHI Northside Widow's Home Incorporated for the rehabilitation of 24 affordable rental units at 308 North Taylor Street, also known as Widow's Home. This is a historic complex of buildings located in Pittsburgh's central Northside neighborhood. It was originally developed in the late 1800s as the Allegheny Widow's Home, which provided housing for widows, elderly women, and low-income women. The property consists of an apartment building with 9 one-bedroom units and 15 two-bedroom townhouses. And though the building no longer serves its original purpose, it still serves to provide an affordable and habitable living environment for low-income residents. The nonprofit developer Action Housing purchased the property last year as part of a strategy to preserve deed-restricted affordable housing in strong market areas. That same year, Action Housing worked with the URA to restructure the existing loan on the property and extend its affordability period for 40 years. They are also currently working on an ABB transfer with HUD to obtain project-based vouchers to deepen the building's affordability. But to be approved for the project-based vouchers, the site needs a considerable amount of investment in repairs to be able to pass HUD safety and habitability standards. This application is for those much-needed renovations that will not only secure an award of project-based vouchers, but will ensure the long-term health of the building and create a better quality of life for the residents. Action Housing has secured multiple sources of financing that will allow it to make improvements to the roofs, bowing walls, windows, carpeting, and landscaping. Action Housing will also fund the operating and replacement reserve accounts, which are currently depleted. The total development cost for these renovations is $1,745,000. Sources of funding include a housing options grant from PHFA, as well as funding from the FAIR program, and a grant from the PNC Foundation. To cover the remainder of their costs, Action Housing has submitted a housing preservation program application to the URA for $500,000. The funding for this loan will be sourced with American Rescue Plan dollars. Its terms include a 50% cash flow repayment and a deed restriction securing long-term affordability for all 24 units. Should a board approve the loan today, the construction will begin in the first quarter of 2024 and end in the fourth quarter of that same year. And those are my presentations. Thank you very much for listening. I would now invite once again Lena Andrews, the Vice President of Real Estate and Development at Action Housing, to provide some remarks.
Thanks again, Nicholas. We've been spending a lot of time with Nicholas. Yeah, I just want to thank you again for these really important preservation funds. And this project to me is really exciting because it's such an awesome example of a preservation project. We bought this from Penrose. It's a LIHTC project where the deed restriction is still in place, but would have been expiring. And it's right in the middle of the Mexican War Streets. And when I saw it, I was like, we have to buy this. We didn't even know how much it was, but it's beautiful. It's an apartment building, then a series of townhomes. And can you imagine if a market rate developer bought that? Like, that's it. Those affordable units are gone. So I'm thrilled that this funding exists. Nicholas talked all about this, but we're applying for an 8BB transfer, which is an incredibly bureaucratic process through HUD, but it provides long-term subsidy for the residents. So we're going to have project-based vouchers for all of the units, which really helps the tenants and it helps our operating pro forma. So thank you, URA. Thanks, Nicholas. Thanks to my staff. And that's it.
Before we talk about all five, are there any questions specific to this project? All right. Director Williamson, I will hand the microphone back.
Takes a lot of hands to work a mic in this room. So first of all, thank you for the incredibly clear and compelling set of presentations. That was really good. I just felt like it was worth just pausing for a minute to like reflect on the magnitude of what is going to be accomplished with this set of actions altogether. I mean, it takes an enormous amount of leadership and creativity and tenacity and skill to create a program like the Housing Preservation Program in the first place, and then to make sure that it actually translates into specific projects coming to this board for approval and then moving forward is incredible. But if you look at these 170 units and the dozens of Pittsburgh individuals and families who are becoming homeowners as a result of home PGH, we're literally talking hundreds of Pittsburghers who, thanks to federal investments, we've talked a lot of things going around today, but if it weren't for our partners in the federal government and the Biden administration, these dollars would not exist in Pittsburgh. So thanks to federal investments, we have hundreds of Pittsburghers who are going to continue to have, or have for the first time, a home that they can afford, that's safe, that is long-term secure and affordable for themselves. That is, frankly, that is what the president talks about when he talks about building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up. This is what we're doing at this table. It is very much Bidenomics in action. And I think it's worth noting that and reflecting on it as we move forward, because this is all the grit and creativity to create these programs at a local level. But we're fortunate that we're able to do this because of the federal investments that this region has received. So just felt like it was worth kind of reflecting on both like what this means for Pittsburgh and the moment that we're in here.
Director Williamson, I think you said it well in terms of what we're looking at. You know, that aggregate number, 3.7 million, 170 units just in these 5 actions and authorizations alone is incredible. You know, when we talk about what the opportunity that ARPA and the investment the federal government was making being once in a generation, these are generational investments that we're making. And I think you said that well. And yeah, it's worth us taking a moment, you know, to thank staff, because it's hard, I know, when you're in the middle of it to kind of acknowledge and recognize that, but certainly worth reflecting upon it, right, to really understand what we're moving forward. So I know we have more projects that we'll see through preservation, in part because of investment. You know, Director Williamson acknowledged that from the federal government, but on every one of these, there's investment from the state as well through the Housing Options Grant Program. So, you know, do want to thank, I know we acknowledged it last month, but the state delegation and Shapiro administration, the Wolf administration prior, for, you know, the investment, PHFA for their trust to make such a heavy investment in Pittsburgh. And I think because we had the thoughtfulness that staff provided to design a program like HPP, that gave faith for PHFA to make such sizable investment in Pittsburgh. So that said, if there are no other comments or questions from board members, thank all the staff, thank all the development partners, thank all the community partners for bringing these projects forth, in the neighborhoods, both those as noted that are strong neighborhoods where we want to preserve affordability, as Lena said, those that are seeing investment, as Kendall noted in Hazelwood, and we think about that and wanting to offset the development pressures that are to come. I will entertain a motion to approve the 5 HPP authorizations that Nicholas so expertly presented and stood for the whole time. So entertain a motion. So moved. We have a second. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motions, all 5 of them carry. So thank you.
This is the moment where policy and practice come together.
That's right.
That's the moment.
Our next item on the agenda is the rental gap program for Oakland Pride, and joining us for this will be David DiBernardo.
Hello. Thank you for having me, and welcome to the board and members of the public. My name is David DiBernardo. I'm a lending analyst in the residential lending department of the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh. I am here today seeking authorization to enter into a rental gap program loan with Oakland Pride Housing, LLC, or related entity for an amount not to exceed $1.6 million in the form of a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. I am also requesting authorization to waive the rental gap program guidelines to permit this loan to exceed the maximum per project loan amount of $1.25 million. I would like to clearly state to the board that there was an error in the director's report that you were provided that did not include the second authorization item, waiving the rental gap program guidelines in the Oakland Pride section, but did include this item in the table of contents. I apologize for that oversight. Oakland Pride is a 48-unit LGBTQ friendly senior housing community to be constructed on an empty lot in the Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh. This development is being built by Oakland Pride Housing, LLC, which is a joint venture between the nonprofit Presbyterian Senior Care Network and national developer Affirmative Investments Incorporated. Affirmative Investments has previously partnered with Presbyterian Senior Care Network on 4 projects, creating a combined total of 311 units with a total development cost of more than $61 million. Affirmative Investments has developed more than 100 projects since 1984, including 4 projects in Pittsburgh. These projects include Silver Lake Commons, the Commons at North Aiken, Fairmont Apartments, and York Commons. The development will be located at 3133 to 3129 Forbes Avenue in the lot between Keystone Applied Behavioral Analysis, DCI Dialysis Clinic, and McGee Women's Research Institute. This location offers residents a safe and walkable neighborhood with easy access to universities, restaurants, hospitals, and parks. The new Oakland Bus Rapid Transit line is nearby, allowing for direct bus access downtown, uptown, Shadyside, and many other neighborhoods. This currently vacant land that the project is being constructed on is being leased for 75 years from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center and the University of Pittsburgh for $1. Oakland Pride will provide 48 units of senior housing. 7 of the units will be reserved for seniors earning at or below 80% of area median income, or AMI. 11 of the units will be reserved for seniors earning at or below 60% of AMI. 24 of the units will be reserved for seniors earning at or below 50% of AMI. And 7 of the units will be reserved for seniors earning at or below 30% of AMI. 30 units have been approved for Section 8 project-based vouchers from the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. Presbyterian Senior Care Network will be the property manager. PSCN, for short, currently manages 13 properties comprised of 753 units across the state of Pennsylvania. PSCN will work with service providers such as Area Aging Agency, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Access, 412 Food Rescue, Penn State Nutrition, and Adiago Health, as well as many other service providers to provide services to their residents. The total development cost for this project is $29 million. In 2022, Oakland Pride was awarded a 9% low-income housing tax credit worth $14.7 million. Other funding sources include a Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh gap financing loan, a mortgage from PHFA, a gaming economic development tourism grant, and this $1.6 million rental gap program loan, which is sourced from 2022 housing opportunity funds and home repay money. With this rental gap program loan included, there will be a remaining funding gap of $2.24 million. We are confident that the developer will be able to successfully raise the additional funds needed to complete the capital stack and get the project across the finish line. As I said before, Oakland Pride will create 48 LGBTQ friendly, affordable units for seniors in the heart of the Oakland neighborhood. This development will be the first LGBTQ friendly senior housing in the city of Pittsburgh and in the region. This $1.6 million investment is necessary to signify to other funders that the URA fully supports this project and will attract additional investment to bring this project to completion. Now joining us via Zoom is the president and CEO of Presbyterian Senior Care Network, Jim Pfeiffer. And Jim's gonna make some comments about the project whenever he's ready.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm Jim Pfeiffer, president of Presbyterian Senior Care. I've been with the organization for 38 years and CEO for the last 2.5. And it's my pleasure to be here with you today. We have a great history of working with the URA over the years. And in addition to the projects that were mentioned, we also have 5 additional housing communities in the city of Pittsburgh for a total of 626 units. And we've been working in the city of Pittsburgh since 1985. Our organization is based in Oakmont. We've been serving Western Pennsylvania for 95 years and are currently, at least according to the Pittsburgh Business Times, largest provider of senior services in Western Pennsylvania. We have 32 affordable housing communities altogether, serving over 2,000 seniors and persons with disabilities a year. As mentioned, this is a partnership with Affirmative Investments, and also the third partnership we will have with the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, who will also be a partner in this new development. This project's been in the works for about 7 years. We started working as a part of our DEIB efforts with PERSAD, an LGBTQ services provider, several years ago, and they knew we had a history of working with the LGBT community since the early 90s during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and approached me and our team about the possibility of doing an affordable senior community that would be friendly to the LGBTQ community. So after a false start in the Lawrenceville area, we were very blessed, as mentioned, to be able to receive these parcels from both the University of Pittsburgh and UPMC, and have been working, ever since to make this project a reality. We've gone through all the city zoning and planning process, had great support from the Oakland community groups, probably the best community process I've ever worked through in my years in the city of Pittsburgh. And I would just also say that we got some good news in the last 2 weeks on this project. We did have affirmation of a $500,000 grant from the Weinberg Foundation, which matched our Hillman grant. And it's exciting for us to be moving forward in the final financing of this new community. We hope that the gap will be closed with 2 final sources, some additional funding through the PHFA, which we are actively pursuing, as well as some additional funding from the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. So thank you again for your consideration of this $1.6 million loan to our project. We have a great history with URA. As a matter of fact, last month, we repaid our $650,000 loan that you supported us with for our York Commons project in Lawrenceville, which has been an amazing success story in the community. We hope to have this project under construction in March if all goes well. We've actually applied for the building permit, and that is currently pending. So with that, I will turn it back over, and I would be happy to answer any questions about this exciting new opportunity in Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Jim. Councilman, I know it's in your district. I don't know if you have any comments you'd like to make. Any other comments or questions from board members while I'm holding the microphone before I pass it on?
You don't need to go far. The Prasad Center hosts a meeting of LGBTQ plus seniors, and when I've gone to visit them as the former representative of the area, have you visited them yet? Yeah. Okay, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. But you know, the number one issue that would come up was availability of housing that was LGBTQ plus friendly, that was specifically for seniors and those with disabilities. So this is a manifestation of issue areas that they care deeply about, and there is a demand for within this community, and just signals that we are a welcoming place for all people at all stages of life. So I appreciate us investing in a project like this.
Thank you.
Jim, you spoke to it. I was going to ask a question sort of related to the gap, but you spoke to one that you've already secured the $500,000 and then are actively pursuing. Does that mean you have applications in on with PHFA and the Housing Authority?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay. And I guess just for the public awareness, the total development costs that are shown on the slide of the 26.6 are slightly different than the 28.9, and the difference seems to be the 2.2 gap that they're still working to raise. So just noting that. Just want to thank you, Jim. I know, like you said, this has been 7 years in the making. I believe you applied for tax credits 3 or 4 times. So
no, actually, this is the first time. We almost applied 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But we actually got funded. We actually got funded on our first round.
Even better then. But appreciate you sticking to it for 7 years, for the staff's work to bring this to fruition. You know, and excited that it's before us today. So if there's no other questions or comments from members, entertain a motion to approve both authorizations.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated.
Our next item on the agenda is the for sale development program for community land trusts, City of Bridges New Markets Tax Credit Project. And joining us for this will be Director Miller.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name's Evan Miller, and I'm the Director of Housing here at the URA. And the first item that I'd like to speak to you all about is a $2,820,000 construction grant to City of Bridges Community Land Trust, or a related entity, through the American Rescue Plan Act funded for sale development program for community land trusts. This is an $8 million project overall that's going to result in 15 affordable homeownership units being brought online in 6 Pittsburgh neighborhoods. The breakdown of these is 2 units are going to be rehabbed in Fineview on Lanark Street. 2 units are going to be rehabbed in Troy Hill on Hatteras Street. 1 unit will be rehabbed in Upper Lawrenceville on Natrona Way. 3 new construction units will come to market in Garfield on what's currently vacant land on Colombo Street. 3 units of new construction will occur in Polish Hill on Dobson Street that are going to create 3 new homes that are actually all adjacent to 4 new construction homes on Brereton Street that this board actually provided funding to in May of 2022 that City of Bridges is finishing right, yeah, under agreement. So those are pretty much done. And then lastly, 4 units will be part of a new construction quadplex on Hazelwood Avenue that features 2 accessible ground floor units, and then 3 larger family size units located above. All of the homes are going to be sold affordably to households at or below 80% of the area median income, and they'll range in price from $120,000 to $205,000, depending on the unit size and where it's located. So this project is utilizing New Markets tax credit equity as a result of an allocation of credits that were provided to the developer by the URA's community development entity, affiliate Pittsburgh Urban Initiatives, which is led by Rebecca Davidson Wagner here at the authority. And the credits allocated to City of Bridges are going to generate over $2.4 million in New Markets equity that will slot right into the project. And beyond the $2.8 million grant that's being sought here at the URA today through the ARPA funded for sale development program for community land trusts and the New Markets equity, a $2.4 million construction loan has been secured from Dollar Bank, and there are grants from PHFA, the Heinz Endowments, and the Hillman Foundation that total about $335,000. I'd also like to mention that part of today's proposed actions include a waiver of guidelines to exceed the per unit grant amount that's allowable through this program, which is currently set at $100,000 per rehab and $130,000 for new construction. So the per unit investment for this project is $188,000 per unit across all 15 units. This per unit subsidy amount is still allowable under HUD's regulations, and the staff believe that this is a worthy investment given the opportunity to leverage time-sensitive ARPA dollars as well as time-sensitive New Markets tax credit allocation, which is rarely seen in housing projects. It's worth noting that every dollar of ARPA money spent in this project attracts at least another $1.70 of private investment into our city. Also, repurposing this vacant and publicly owned land is going to provide a return to the city and the public at large, those benefits being that the homes are going to generate over $100,000 in transfer tax revenue from their initial sales. And over the first 10 years of ownership, the city and the school district stand to earn more than $600,000 in increased tax revenue from this project. Also, these homes are going to be permanently affordable within the land trust model, meaning that their resale will be affordable to households at or below 80% AMI for the next 99 years. The national average length of housing tenure within land trust homeownership opportunities is around 7 years. So doing some back of the envelope math, assuming that this housing tenure of 7 years stays afoot and throughout the useful life of these 15 homes, that's about as many as 210 affordable home ownership opportunities that are going to be created through this investment. So to wrap up here, the request today is $2.82 million of a construction grant to City of Bridges Community Land Trust, as well as a waiver of guidelines to allow this award to exceed the program's per unit maximums. I'll stop there, but before I turn over to the board, there are some representatives from the City of Bridges Community Land Trust here that may want to say a few words, so I'll step aside.
Just a small height difference from the two of us. I'm used to it. I'm Ed Newser. I'm Executive Director of City of Bridges Community Land Trust. It's great to be here in person with everyone. Also joined by our Senior Real Estate Manager, Julie Nigro. It's kind of almost amazing to be here right now. I think for context for the board, the first email that City of Bridges sent about this New Markets project went to Jessica Smith-Perry. For just context of how long we've been trying to make this deal work. And so we're incredibly excited to be here. And Director Williamson, to your comments earlier about this being Bidenomics in action, one of the things that I was so excited about when ARPA was announced was that it was about not just putting out the fires that were raging, but about building a system that was more fireproof in the future. And the work that this board's done today, the HPP dollars that have been awarded, this potential award, creates a system that's a city that is going to be able to weather the next storm, because there will be a next storm. We know that. There will be another crisis, and creating a system that gives people and communities the sustainability to live through and weather those storms is incredibly important. And so incredibly thankful to be here for for this chance. Evan stole most of my thunder about the tax increment that we were going to be bringing back to the city. But I think also just a couple of quick firsts for this for the project too. This is the first fully affordable new markets tax credit home ownership project anywhere outside of Philadelphia in the state of Pennsylvania. This has also let us create our first condo building, the picture up on the screen there, along with our first fully ADA accessible units. Being able to bridge that gap of physical accessibility for homes is challenging in a city as topographically intense as Pittsburgh and with the typical parcel sizes that we're stuck doing infill development on. So I just wanted to also end by saying a quick thank you to all of the URA staff that supported us and are thinking, and we're creative partners on how to get this project across the finish line. So Evan and Victoria, David, Kiana, Sushila, thank you all for your work and your effort on this.
Thank you, Ed. Questions, comments from board members? Ed, I'll do you one better because the ones on Dobson, I was actually the project manager for 11 years ago. So yeah, 11 years ago. Yeah, so it's great to be here today for this, for multiple reasons that have been articulated already, but personally to actually see those ones move forward, because it's been a long time. I do want to disclose I also sit on the board for Pittsburgh Urban Initiatives, you know, our New Markets affiliate. It's not conflict, but just to disclose that. Yeah, I think you all said it well. It's exciting to see these, you know, before us. It again speaks to the power of the federal investment and how we're leveraging that, you know, for these generational investments, you know, across a number of different communities. So appreciate, you know, the work that you all have put into this with the staff, standing up a new program, and, you know, us being able to do it in a way, to steal your words, to weather the storm. And I think also importantly, right, these investments sort of speak to us managing, you know, growth or setting up, you know, for success, right? Like, what does that look like, and how do we sort of manage and offset those to really lay the groundwork for the city that we want to see, and, you know, allow our neighbors that have been here and weathered the hard times to stay, you know, through the good that's coming before us. So thank you all for your work on this, Evan and the team that, you know, is behind the scenes. You know, it's truly appreciated and incredibly, you know, powerful. So with that, entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? And the motion carries. Our next item is the Housing Opportunity Fund Annual Allocation Plan, and Director Miller is sticking with us for this.
Yes, thank you. So the authorization here today is for the 2024 Annual Allocation Plan for the Housing Opportunity Fund, but just I do want to start off with giving a little bit of background on the fund for those who might not be familiar. This was a result of the Affordable Housing Task Force that was formed in the middle of last decade, which is weird to say. And one of the recommendations was that in light of dwindling state and federal sources, that the city needed to make their own affirmative investment in affordable housing. And the result of that was a local housing trust fund, which we've come to know as the Housing Opportunity Fund, which was, I guess, established by City Council in 2017. And part of that was a cooperation agreement that sets aside $10 million every year for the next 12 years, starting in 2018, to be transferred to the URA to carry out the work of the Housing Opportunity Fund. And so that is where we are at today. There is a 17-person HOF advisory board, which is appointed by the mayor and represents varying areas of interest and expertise within affordable housing. And the process for creating an allocation plan is, I'll walk you through 2024s to be specific. Starting in late spring, early summer, we began doing some public outreach, attending community meetings, virtual and online, some targeted marketing and mailers. We had worked with our strategic data investments team to create a survey that allowed people residents of Pittsburgh to express what they thought the most pressing needs related to affordable housing were, and how if they had $10 million to spend, how would they allocate it? And we had we distilled that information. We received over 450 unique responses, which was a really good turnout. I think the most we've had in the time that we've been making allocation plans. This is now going to be the Housing Opportunity Fund's 7th allocation plan. And we distilled those results, created a report and prospectus for our advisory board members. And then at the October HOF advisory board meeting, they formed a draft allocation plan. That draft allocation plan was then posted on the URA's website for a month to receive any other additional comments from the public. And then last Thursday on November 2nd, the HOF advisory board met again and actually did not end up making any changes to their draft plan. They took into account the public comment, and that is what is now before us here as the final annual allocation plan for the 2024 Housing Opportunity Fund. So I'll run down through the programs very briefly, just give you an overview of what they do and what their funding amount was, and I'll make some comments on if they were raised or decreased. So the first program is the Rental Gap program, which increases the supply of affordable rental housing by providing loans to developments and developers. That was actually decreased to $2 million this year. The for sale development program does something very similar, but for sale development as opposed to rental multifamily development. And that was also decreased and set at $650,000 in the final plan. Our down payment and closing cost assistance program, this provides loan financing, but it's really a grant. As long as someone's living in their home, they're never going to pay on it, to cover the costs of a down payment or closing fees, taxes, insurance that come with purchasing a home. That was increased to $700,000 this year, partially in response to the success of the OWN PGH program and increased demand that we're seeing for that program, for the down payment and closing costs program as a result. Our homeowner assistance program, this provides, again, deferred financing. No one's ever paying on it as long as they're living in the home. Provides low-income homeowners with funding to make necessary repairs to their home to keep them housed and to make sure that they're not losing equity and time spent in a home. That was increased, and that's set at $3,050,000 this year. The Housing Stabilization Program provides financial assistance for renters or homeowners who are experiencing a temporary non-reoccurring housing crisis, and we've seen considerable demand in that program, and it was raised to $850,000 this year. Our legal assistance program provides a variety of free housing services to eligible tenants and homeowners with free legal representation wherever they may need it. And that was increased pretty significantly to $1.4 million this year. We also have a small landlord fund, which helps landlords that have small portfolios of units to fix up those. That was actually set at $0 this year, mostly because there's remaining allocation from past years that's available for that program. And then lastly, we have a demonstration program that can respond to either housing emergencies or can kind of be flexed to create new programs or initiatives that maybe aren't covered by the programmatic offerings of HOF at this time. And that is increased this year to $350,000. So that's just an overview of the plan. In general, the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board did spend a considerable amount of time contemplating and trying to figure this out. There's a lot of moving parts here with other sources that exist either within the URA or within the overall housing ecosystem, if you will. So a lot of thought went into it. And I do just want to, before I turn it over, recognize that this being at the URA, the Housing Opportunity Fund, is a great example of kind of what the URA can do. There's a housing department of 15 here who work every day on this, but we have a finance department that's processing dozens of check requests a week for us to make sure the contractors are getting paid, checks show up at closings, all things like that. Our legal department helps us troubleshoot and think through all types of issues that come about from this kind of work. We have inspectors who are out in the field making sure that the work being done to these homes is quality. So it's really all hands on deck effort by the URA here. And I think it's something that, we should commend all staff for. Just fortunate to be up here, maybe providing the exclamation point. So I will turn it over to the board if they want to talk about the plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Director. Questions, comments from the board member?
Thank you so much, Director, and to you and your team for always doing, I think, really an amazing and intentional job of trying to get a snapshot from community members, stakeholders, advocates, and what we know is important, but also what we know will be the biggest issues that our residents and community members will face in the future. I had a question about the legal assistance program. Talking to a lot of the folks that utilize this money, they have consistently said that there's a fear that we're still going to feel the effects of COVID with eviction prevention and all the work that they've been doing. How, in the conversations that you had with community, did you also see that reflected in concerns? Could you talk a little bit more about how we came to that number with LAP as well?
Sure. It is very much so on the minds of many, especially with the emergency rental assistance program coming to an end. There's been an uptick in eviction filings, and we're seeing that. And we've also seen the program have a lot of success with the current funding that it does have. I think this year, the allocation plan does reflect kind of an increased commitment definitely to this program and hopeful expansion of it. For reference, in the 2023 allocation plan, this program received $500,000. And so we're talking about a $900,000 increase, which I think will hopefully allow it to expand. There's a lawyer of the day program that provides kind of on the spot assistance for people in various courts throughout the city. I know that some of the providers want to move to all courts that really need it. There's some courts in the city that maybe don't have a lot of eviction filings, but for those that do, we want to make sure that there's adequate representation available. So I think there was a lot to balance with the plan, but $1.4 million represents a really hearty increase. But then I will also say that the demonstration program, having $350,000 available, can kind of serve as a flexible fill-in source should we find that as we get into the middle of 2024, like this money is just flying out the door, that could be kind of shifted over there. So there's some agility within the plan to be able to respond to what's going to go on, because we really, who knows what this time next year might look like.
I appreciate you saying that. I recognize that there are courts, as you said, that don't utilize lawyers that are able to provide services through our funding in their courts. And so I know that there's an interest in expanding to those spaces in anticipation that unfortunately we will see more eviction filings. So it's good to know that the demonstration dollars can be flexed there.
Representative Powell, I know a few folks have reached out, and specifically around legal assistance as well as housing stabilization. I think Director Miller spoke well in terms of what all of the various things that the advisory board sort of weighs, right, in balancing this and coming up with a plan that's before us today. So I'm not suggesting that we make modifications to it, because I want to be respectful of their work. The one, I guess, sort of new piece of new information, that I would just sort of raise is our next item on the agenda, and the potential changes that we will be entertaining around own PGH today, and that funding could effectively be used for similar uses as the for sale development program. So I do think, that for the advisory board, to consider how they may look at, other ways that fund could be used, certainly before city council, makes any changes or approval of the plan. But, I don't think, at least at this point, what's before us today, you know, we sort of in good conscience without the advisory board being able to kind of weigh that against what they've already done, that it makes sense to make a change. So if there's any other questions, comments from board members, if there are none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the motion or the, excuse me, authorization before us. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? And the motion carries. Our next item on the agenda is adjustments to the OMPGH program, and joining us for this will be Chief Wassler.
Good afternoon again. We're in the home stretch of the housing portion of the meeting. I just want to thank you all for your patience, and housing is a very important topic in the city of Pittsburgh, and just really excited about all the progress that we're making with our financing here at the URA. So the last housing item on the agenda today is the OwnPGH program adjustments. For background purposes, the OwnPGH program currently provides up to $90,000 for first-time homebuyers to make their home purchase more affordable. The program is currently funded through matching funds of up to $50,000 per applicant in American Rescue Plan Act funding through the URA, and up to $40,000 per applicant in deferred mortgage financing from the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh. In October, an announcement was made to the URA Board of Directors that the Housing Department was considering expanding the OwnPGH program to include the following 3 proposed additions to the allowable uses to the program funding. First, to allow nonprofit for-sale development partners to utilize OwnPGH as a source of construction grant financing through the URA's for-sale development program. Secondly, to allow all income eligible buyers in Pittsburgh to utilize OwnPGH, not just home buyers. Participants would only be able to own one home in this situation after their OwnPGH closing. And then lastly, to enable the ARPA funding to increase from a maximum of $50,000 per home buyer to the $90,000 max per home buyer. This would not increase the overall $90,000 cap per home buyer. What this would do is allow the program to continue with the funding when the Housing Authority runs out of their source of funds. So after the October announcement, a public comment period was opened so that members of the public and the development community could provide feedback on the proposed changes. We received 3 comments, all in favor of the expansion. To date, 54 homes have been purchased through the OwnPGH program since its inception in February of 2023, and there are currently over 10 projects in the pipeline moving through their mortgage qualification process. We believe this expansion will allow the program to be more widely used and not only limited to first-time homebuyers. It will also allow the program to continue processing applications when HACP funds run out. They committed $2 million in 2023 to the program, and we are almost finished with their source of funds. I think this month we will have closed their last loan. Lastly, this expansion will allow more affordable home ownership opportunities to be available for purchase on the market, as the funds will be used as gap financing to produce affordable for-sale homes, excuse me. All of these proposed changes have been vetted and approved by the city and our internal staff. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for your consideration of this board item, and I'd like to open it up for any questions. And Director Miller is here to assist with answering questions.
Questions or comments from board members? I know we discussed it a bit last month when you presented the draft guidelines. So, you know, again, thank you for the creativity and, you know, what you've proposed today for adoption and for our consideration. I think Director Williamson said it, you know, either in the briefing or last month at the board meeting in terms of, you know, a concern when we had initially approved OwnPGH in terms of supply. And, you know, now we're sort of adapting and being nimble again and responding to that and being able to utilize these tools and this investment to add to the supply. So do appreciate staff's creativity in helping to move that forward, and as well expand both the pool for eligible buyers to those that are income eligible broadly, and not wanting to, fall short of resources, when the Housing Authority recognizing they're pulling from their limited sort of resources to be a partner in this, and can only go so far, but, not wanting our residents to sort of be the ones to bear the brunt of that. So, I know a lot of went into this from the housing team while you're balancing a number of other things, as we've seen on the agenda today, and the legal department, and the folks at the city. So really just thank you all for that. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? And the motion carries. Thank you. Now moving into development services. We have 3 items on the agenda today. The first being Amani Christian CDC, the African Queens Apartments project. And coming back to join us for this is David DiBernardo.
Hello again. My name is David DiBernardo. I'm a lending analyst at the URA. I am back today to discuss African Queens Apartments by Amani Christian Community Development Corporation, or Amani CDC for short. I am seeking approval for a third board action confirming evidence of final financing and final drawings have been submitted, reviewed, and approved so that construction may begin on this project following the financial closing. I am also requesting an extension of the reverter deed on the property from December 2023 to March 2024 to allow for time to have the financial closing take place. Lastly, I am requesting authorization to enter into a rental gap program loan with Amani Christian Community Development Corporation or a related entity for an amount not to exceed $410,000 for the construction of African Queens Apartments. This loan will take place in the form of a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. Amani CDC is the nonprofit owner, borrower, and developer for African Queens Apartments. This project is located at 2159 Center Avenue along the Hill District Business Corridor that is part of the URA's Avenues of Hope initiative. The Avenues of Hope initiative is the city and URA's effort to rebuild housing and commercial development along 7 of the city's neighborhood business districts that have been historically disinvested. This 4-story mixed-use building will be built on the site of a former record store known as African Queens, which is where the project gets its name. The project consists of 13,500 square feet for affordable housing and 4,500 square feet for its 2 street-level retail spaces. The retail spaces are expected to be filled by Catapult Greater Pittsburgh and by Amani CDC. African Queens Apartments will consist of 12 units of housing, including 3 rented to families earning at or below 30% of area median income, 5 rented to residents earning at or below 50% of area median income, and 4 rented to families earning at or below 80% of area median income. All 12 of these units will accept Section 8 project-based vouchers. 3 of these units will be 2-bedroom units. This project will provide desperately needed quality affordable housing to the Hill District. The $410,000 rental gap program loan will provide a $330,000 permanent construction loan and an $80,000 loan for services to be provided to the residents. This rental gap program loan will be funded using $80,000 from the 2022 Housing Opportunity Fund and $330,000 from the 2023 Housing Opportunity Fund. The services will be provided by the University of Pittsburgh Community Engagement Center and Catapult Greater Pittsburgh. The total development cost of this project is $6.9 million, which will be funded using a mix of 14 grants and loans from various entities. These include a $2 million RCAP award, a $1 million Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh gap financing loan, a $900,000 grant from PHFA, an $800,000 mortgage from First National Bank, and various other sources. African Queens Apartments will add 2 new commercial storefronts and 12 affordable apartments to the Hill District, which will help meet the need for affordable housing and community-oriented developments on Center Avenue. This project will stimulate growth and sustainable development in the heart of the Hill District neighborhood. Joining us today via Zoom, I'd like to introduce 2 members of the Amani team. I'll introduce them together and then they can take turns speaking as they choose. We have the executive chairperson of Amani CDC, the Reverend Lee Walls, and secondly, the real estate and project director of Amani CDC, Jim Palmer. Reverend, whenever you're ready, you can join in for comments.
Good afternoon, board. So glad to be able to join you on this afternoon. I want to thank you for your support of our project in the past, and we're coming to you once again. The Beatles had a song a long time ago called The Long and Winding Road, and that has been the story of our particular journey over the last 3.5 years. So we're so fortunate to find ourselves before you on today to seek your support for rental gap loan of $410,000. And an important piece of that is the $80,000 for supportive services for our residents. One of the things that we, as a faith-based developer, believe in is reaching the least of these. We were very intentional about our population that we wanted to reside in our building. And so we reached out in our thinking to assist those who have special needs and are part of a special population in our community. So with that, we are seeking additional funding from the foundation community for supportive services. And we're so grateful to bring that part of our request to you on today. Before I go any further, I certainly want to thank the URA staff, both past and present, Aster LeClay, Leah Matthews, who got down in the trenches with us and helped us work through so many of the issues over these last 3.5 years. Also want to thank your executive director, Shashila, and Mr. Tom Link, who I regularly call on the phone or send an email to with a lot of the concerns that we've had over the past. But this project would not have been where it is today without their support. In addition, Councilman LaValle has been one of our chief supporters over these last 3.5 years, even in those moments when we did not think we would get to this almost $7 million total development cost. So we're very grateful for those people who have joined with us. And there's a long list of them, both in the city government and the state government as well. So we're very grateful for all of that assistance. This has been a very long meeting. I don't want to take too much time. I have with us also Mr. Jim Palmer. Jim, if there's anything I've forgotten, and that's quite likely, would you like to add to our conversation with the board today?
Of course. Firstly, again, thanks to all, everyone at the URA who's been so instrumental in helping this project get so close to the finish line. As David mentioned, we are coordinating between 14 different funders, and due to that, we just need a little bit more time on the reverter deed to be able to align all of our funders into a financial closing in very early 2024. Regarding the rental gap program request, that $410,000 is truly the last money into this project. We are considered fully funded with this RGP loan, and very excited to finally, after this long journey, be able to celebrate that. I won't take any more time, but thank you so much to the URA especially.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Questions or comments from board members?
How big are the units?
The question was, how big are the units from Director Williamson?
In total square foot, I don't know, but they're 1 and 2 bedroom units.
Relying on my memory, I'm trying to pull up the drawings while I'm chatting, but the 1 bedroom units are generally larger than 700 square feet, and the 2 bedroom units are generally larger than 900 square feet. And I can get those exact numbers for you.
No, I was just curious about the number of bedrooms, not the square footage. Thanks.
Yeah, Reverend Walls alluded to it. It was 2019 when we first started the process of turning our attention towards Center Avenue to try to reestablish a commercial corridor. And it's exciting because here we are today, 1, having announced Salim's, and now 2, having this development come online as well. So thank you for all the staff. I know this took some twists and some turns, right? We started with the idea of let's lower the barrier to allow more in the community to get engaged with the redevelopment of the community. And since from that point to get to here, it's been a learning experiment. Definitely for me, and I know for many of you as well. So I thank you for your patience and your fortitude to stick through this. I do know we have about 4 or 5 other projects that are sort of lingering. It'd probably be helpful if maybe in an executive session we just sort of discuss what those projects are. But Reverend Walls, thank you for as well sticking through the process and learning alongside with us so that hopefully as we work on our other avenues of hope throughout the city, we can better support those developments and bring those developments online more expeditiously or more efficiently is probably the better way to say it.
And we thank you too, Councilman.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? No. With 14 different funding sources, bless the attorneys and the staff that are working on that intercreditor agreement. So yeah, understood the little bit extra time to sort all that out. But thank you for your commitment to the project and seeing this through. I'm excited to have this for our approval today. So there's no other questions or comments from the board. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Then the motion carries. Thank you all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is citywide property maintenance, and Lindsay Jupin is joining us again for this.
This new setup kind of feels like Shark Tank, so in my head, that's always going through. So, hello, Sharks. My name is Lindsay Jupin. I'm the real estate inventory manager here at the URA, and I'm here seeking authorization to enter into 2-year contracts with 9 firms for an amount not to exceed $1,406,356. And it also took about 20 times in my head to repeat that number to make sure I got it correct. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background for the land care program for those who may not know. In 2016, really became kind of the pivot year where we moved away from having one firm service pretty much the vast majority of our portfolio. In those early days in 2016, we had around 350 parcels and a great many of 311 calls. During that time, that has since grown to 9 firms and over 1,200 parcels of land. Our land care contractors are responsible on a monthly cycle. So every 30 days, they at least have to go to a property 1 time. Additionally, any 311 requests in our business district, special attention prior to summer holidays, and things of that nature. In addition, our land care contractors do provide a very important eyes on the street using some of our software, Regrid through Loveland Technologies. our land care contractors actually take pictures before and after of the parcels when they're serviced, which I diligently multiple times a day look at, which help identify any sort of problems before they creep up. We can send a contractor out there or someone from our QCI team out there as well. Our parcels are maintained year round, so during the summer they're trimmed, mowed. In the winter, we've got snow removal, de-icing efforts, and things of that nature. I do want to give a special thanks to our current land care contractors for all the work that they've put in addition to our QCI team, who really are a partner in helping make sure that things go over well, in maintaining our program. So with that, Sharks, do you have any questions?
Any questions? Sure. Yeah.
Lindsay, thank you so much. I love our land care program. It's one of the things that I think the URA sneakily does that people don't realize, that makes a tremendous impact to the neighbors that are seeing our properties that, used to be eyesores. But now I think are very well maintained, very well kept. I know during my time at the city, we tried to copy y'all and do the same thing, just because I do think it's such a transformative program and kind of under the radar program that we do. So thank you so much for not just maintaining our properties, but also creating an opportunity for small business engagement and making sure that it's a diverse portfolio and an expanding portfolio that we have. I know it's not always easy and not always the sexiest part of the portfolio, but truly, thank you so much. It's such an impactful program.
Welcome. Yeah. And to your point as well, there is the public-facing component. So, people in real time can actually go to our website and see those parcels as they're being maintained. They are color-coded, so it makes it very easy to say, like, oh, has that parcel been visited by a land care contractor or has it not? So I think that's a crucial component as well.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. To Representative Powell's comment that the city's now done it, I think, 2 years. So we have a lot of learnings from that. I think there's opportunities for coordination, right? And I know you are talking to the team at the city, so we'll just encourage us to continue to look for opportunities related to that. Since we've been doing this a while, I mean, I would be interested, again, whether it's an executive session or if it makes sense for an update publicly, and the impact that Director Powell has alluded to see sort of over time how some of this has helped to sort of grow the contracting capacity of some of these firms, or those that had been with us and maybe now they're even sort of too big, right? And are pursuing other things, because that was some of the thesis is I remember the board entertaining this years ago when it first started. So I'd be interested to just see how successful have we been. And, I know we continue to sort of refine and improve, pardon me, but would just be great to see sort of that update so we can kind of see that impact by taking a step back and reflecting on the work. So there's no other questions or comments. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Our last item on the regular agenda is the citywide outdoor dining ARPA grants, and Jamie Petrosky is joining us for that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Jamie Petrosky, Neighborhood Business District Program Analyst, requesting authorization to enter into 9 outdoor dining grant agreements in a not to exceed amount of $434,560. As a reminder, this program awards business supporting nonprofit groups to make improvements to their business districts. And so we are requesting to enter into agreements with Bloomfield Development Corporation, Innovate PGH, Lawrenceville Corporation, Neighborhood Allies in partnership with LA Grocery, Neighborhood Allies in partnership with Black Beauty Cafe and Lounge, Neighbors in the Strip, Northside Leadership Conference, Oakland Business Improvement District, and the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the program or our grant awardees.
Thanks. Any questions for the board?
Thank you for bringing about this program. Just a quick point of clarity. In our slides, it has Innovate PGH as 60 and Lawrenceville Corp at 90, but in our director's report, those numbers are inversed. Can you just clarify?
The director's report is what is correct. Innovate PGH is awarded 90,000 and Lawrenceville is awarded 60,000. Thank
you. Any other questions or comments from board members? Jamie, thank you for your work on this and the rest of the team. I know this is another one, you know, that when your team comes before us, they're very high touch, you know, and time intensive to bring these to fruition. So really appreciate the work that goes into what we see before us today, and then the work that goes in after, you know, we entertain votes before us to bring it to reality. So kudos for, you know, what you put into it and the care that you all bring to the work. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And this will spend down all of the funds in
Okay.
this program too.
Okay.
So all of these ARPA funds will be done after this is committed. So very proud of that too.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, entertain a motion to approve. Second?
No second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Sorry, staff just gave me a question regarding that we got in on here. I'm just taking a look at it now. This is thank you for the opportunity to make a comment to this board. The person's name is Christ Temple. I appreciate all the hard work this board does to help lift those communities and individuals who've not been able to lift themselves for a number of reasons. I'm sincerely concerned with the issue of interpretation of the guidelines regarding the use of ARPA funds by nonprofits to upgrade their facilities, when in fact, if the facility is not usable because of safety, the programs cannot operate, and our youth and families I mentioned are once again left without. I want to encourage this board to do all that must be done to encourage the city law department to re-examine the guidelines and allow the nonprofits who do so much great work in our underserved communities to expand the much needed programs. Thank you. So thank you for the comment. I know that staff is actively engaged in conversations with city law department related to the issue that you raised in terms of utilizing ARPA funds, in particular those that are pledged for Avenues of Hope for nonprofits. So those conversations are ongoing. We've not been presented with the you know, proposed changes to the guidelines yet, but you know, I know as they work through those details, I would anticipate that, you know, we'll see something before us. I'm looking to our directors and leadership if okay, they're anticipating us seeing those next month. So again, thank you for the comment. Thanks. Our consent agenda, and if there's any questions or comments from board members, if not, would entertain a motion to approve in its entirety. So moved. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Then the motion carries. We have one item on our disclosure agenda, just to note for the public. Director Namani Stanger said it at the beginning, but you know, do want to acknowledge, thank, recognize the staff that helped pull off this hybrid setting. I think it went well, so I appreciate that. You know, everyone who put it together behind the scenes, the comms team, our man behind the switchboard, and Dylan for monitoring the comments, and everyone else who helped drive it forward and do the logistics. So thank you all. If there's no other comments from board members, I will enter. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Abdullah joined us. So yeah, I do want to give Abdullah the opportunity. He wasn't here when we did the announcement related to the closing, financial closing for Salem's Market in the Hill District. So I'll invite you the opportunity to make comment to the board. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much. Glad everyone's back in person. Thank you. No, thank you very much. You see, I pulled out the suit for you guys.
Got it. Yeah, you put the suit on.
This is special. There's only one of them in my closet. So Well, I stand here before you very, very humbled. I know we've done this a few times, but most importantly, humbled and thankful. This is a very important milestone in our journey, and I have the deepest gratitude for everyone at the URA for their unwavering support to our project. Your dedication in transforming our vision into a reality, and for that, we are immensely grateful. And one of the things that I sort of just wanted to mention today is like the word partnership. I know it's used a lot in a lot of different places, and they have this term, which is public-private partnership, and it's discussed everywhere. And I think it's important for everyone to know in Pittsburgh and surrounding areas and everything that this was a true public-private partnership. There's still a bunch of work to go. We still have to get the store open, but getting here today is a result of this awesome collaborative partnership of Salem's Market collaborating with the Hill District to first see if we were the right fit for the location. When we know that we were the right fit for the location, the partnership and support for the URA from the URA is why we're here today, as well as many other government entities within Pittsburgh that have supported us to get us here today. And without that partnership, this project would not be happening. We would not be coming to the Hill District, and I would not be standing here before you today. So for that, I am most thankful for that partnership and the true meaning of the word partnership, to have a partner with us and stand with us to ensure that we have the means and needs and support to get the store open and still remain with us throughout the process to ensure that we are bringing the amenities and the groceries that the neighborhood truly deserves. And even as I sit here and hear all these different projects who are all so great for the community, and every one of these projects wouldn't happen if the URA support wasn't with all these different community projects that are happening. So just for some specific thing, I want to extend a special thanks to Councilman Lavelle and Marimba Mallions from the Hill CDC for their exceptional leadership in the community. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge and thank our Mayor, Honorable Ed Gainey, the entire URA Board, and specifically URA Board Chair Kyle Chintalapalli for their ongoing guidance and encouragement. The success of this project is a testament to the efforts of the entire URA team. I want to honor the executive leadership, particularly Tom Link, Sushila, and Tanika for their inspiring dedication. Additionally, I would like to recognize the invaluable contributions of James Reed, Rochelle Lillian, Bailey Knapp, Corey DeRico, Michael Bitsora, Lindsay Jupin, Catherine Murray, Emma Meyer, and all the dedicated individuals at the URA. And I think everyone at the URA has had some piece in this project one way or another. So it really is a dedication and thanks to everyone. And at the heart of our efforts are the people of the Hill District, to whom we owe the deepest gratitude. We are honored by the opportunity to serve this vibrant community and provide them with the high quality amenities that they truly deserve. We acknowledge that our store is not a business, but is a community asset, and we're we're committed to being responsible stewards of that asset. We are grounded in our unwavering dedication to the community, and we will continue to work hand in hand to forge lasting partnerships with the Hill District friends and our neighbors. And I want to thank everyone humbly very, very much for their support in this project. God bless you and your families all. Thank you.
With that, I will entertain, or I make a motion or entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Second. Adjourn. Yeah.